Nigeria, you once again welcome to yet another episode of Talk Low Naija. Hope you enjoyed your past week. So today's topic is something different. I know throughout the entire electioneering period there was this trending video on social media of a woman that was beating up her friend for sleeping with her husband. So the husband and the friend have been seeing each other, and both of them have been frolicking around, and she got to know about it, and she resorted to assaulting and battering this woman in her own living room, even to the extent of tearing her clothes and stripping her naked. Now we're going to be looking at the legal implications of adultery. Yes, we'll be discussing adultery today. Adultery is something that is prevalent in our society today, where you see a married man or a married woman going outside their matrimonial home, outside their marriage vows, to sleep with other persons that they are actually not married to. Now, marriage is a sacred institution, you get. So from the biblical point of view, for those of us that are Christians, actually, Exodus 20 tends to stipulate the commandments that God had given to Moses that has been passed down to us. And one of such commandments is do not commit adultery. This has, however, been entrenched in our laws. Now, this is basically for people that are married under the Act. These are statutory marriages, not just customary marriages, because our customary marriages allows us to get married to 1, 2, 3 women as much as we want, or for women 1, 2, 3 men if you want to. Customary marriages allow that, but when it has to do with statutory marriages, that is marriage under the Act, marriage under law, marriage under the English law, it's 1 woman, 1 man, and marriage is a contract just between the both of them. Now, the legal concept of adultery is when a man that is married goes outside his home to have sexual intercourse with someone that is not his wife. Now, that woman can institute an action for dissolution of that marriage based on the grounds of adultery. Section 15 sub 2 of the Matrimonial Causes Act states various circumstances in which a person can seek for a dissolution of marriage. That is, if the marriage is irretrievable. Now, section 15 sub 2b specifically states adultery as one of the circumstances in which a woman or a man can actually file for divorce. Now, adultery, when the spouse of the respondent has committed adultery and the other person or the other party or the other spouse finds it intolerable to live with that person. Now, it is not just that the person has committed adultery. The other offended party, that is the petitioner, must find it intolerable to live with that person. Now, that person can actually bring or institute an action in court for dissolution of such marriage. And the court, having heard all this and seen all this with all evidence before it, will grant the person this plea before the court. Now, this is the action this woman would have taken instead of going ahead to batter or beat her friend. She can also bring an action in court for breach of consortium. What is consortium? Consortium is a right which a person who is married enjoys in that marriage. That is the right to love, the right to service, the right to society, of your husband or of your wife. Now, if any person through his action unjustifiably makes or deprives a party of that right to consortium in that marriage, that party can bring an action against the defaulting person. Now, whether or not your husband is still living with you in your house is not an issue here. In as much as your right to consortium, which is the love you get from your husband, has been reduced, the service your husband gives to you, that is your legal right for you to have sexual intercourse with your husband, has been tampered with, you can bring an action. And then the society of your husband, if your husband does no longer spends time with you, he always goes to his girlfriend's house, or your wife is always going to her boyfriend's house, you can also institute an action against the boyfriend for breach of a right to consort you. You can claim damages, monetary rewards, and so on. The court can grant it to you if you can successfully prove that right. Now there's a particular action you can also bring if that other person has lured your husband or your wife out of the house. Now I see some marriages in which the husband will leave the wife and run away to live in another place with his girlfriend. They will book an apartment where they will be living, and he will leave his legally married wife. Now that particular woman can bring an action or petition the man for enticement, not the man, rather the lady, for enticement. Now anybody who through the unjustifiable acts of that person lures a husband or lures a wife to leave her matrimonial home to come stay with him or her, defaulting in his or her rights to carry out his matrimonial right, that's the right to give love to your wife or your spouse and all that, and comes to stay with you, the wife of that person, the husband of that person can actually sue you for enticement. And enticement is recognized under the law. You can bring a legal, it's a tortious act, you can bring a legal action, a civil right. You can claim against that person, and the courts will grant you damages for all that. Now I know so many people confuse bigamy for grounds of adultery. Now you can there can be a dissolution of marriage. That is, if you want to dissolve the marriage, you want to scrap the marriage, you don't want to go on with that particular contract, you can bring adultery, in which you dissolve your marriage. But if you still maybe you want to continue with the marriage and you just want to bring an action against the person luring your husband to leave you, or the person causing issues in your marriage, you can then bring an action for a breach of consortium, or rather enticement, anyone you prefer. But however, if your husband leaves you and get married to another person, which is something that is prevalent in society today, or if your wife leaves you and gets married to another person, that is when you can bring an action for bigamy. Remember, I said these actions can only be instituted when your marriage is a statutory marriage. This was what the court held in Adeboye and Adeboye. Such marriage may be conducted under statutes before you can exercise any of this right. If it's a customary law marriage, you can get married to one, 2, 3, 4 marriages, as many as you want. But when it has to do with statutory marriage, this right can actually be claimed. Now, bigamy is when a married man or a married woman leaves his spouse while they are still alive to go get married to another person. Already, that particular marriage, the second marriage has been dissolved, because once you get married and there is an already existing statutory marriage, your marriage is dissolved. But however, the wife can also bring an action for bigamy against her husband. And bigamy is a criminal offense under section 370 of the Criminal Code. And you can actually go to court. Yes, 7 years. Once you've been tried for bigamy and the court has found you guilty, you can go in for 7 years. So before you leave your wife that you've married under the statute, or before you leave your husband that you've married under the statute, you should rather go for a divorce. Don't just run and leave and get married to another person. You can't get away with it. If your wife or your husband decides to institute an action against you, you're going in for 7 years. Others will say section 30 of the Matrimonial Causes Act will say you cannot institute an action for divorce if your marriage is not more than 2 years, or if your marriage is not up to 2 years. This is very true. The court has brought this particular section out in order to protect the sanctity of marriage, because if this is not actually if this section is not actually there, you see people going into marriages and leaving. Maybe you just get married, 6 months you're out, I don't like this man again. 1 month you're out, I don't like this woman again. So that's how it would have been. So, but to protect this the sanctity of marriage, the legislators have actually put this, or enacted this particular section, that is, if you are married, you cannot divorce your wife, you cannot divorce your husband, except the marriage is up to 2 years. However, you know, there is always a however in law. There is an exception, or there are exceptions to this. Now, if the man has actually committed adultery and you find it intolerable to stay with him, you cannot tolerate it any longer, he's sleeping around at others, you can institute an action. Now, if the man is a drunk man, the man has actually raped someone, and you can't find these behaviors, yes, you can't stick with this behavior, you can't accept these behaviors, you can actually seek for a divorce even if your marriage is not up to 2 years, or if your husband has not consummated your marriage. What do I mean by he has not consummated your marriage? Your husband has not slept with you over a long period of time and he does not really have any right reason for not doing so. You can seek for a dissolution of marriage even before your marriage is 2 years. I hope today's topic you've learned a lot about it. Now let's relate it to the story we initially stated in the beginning of today's episode. The lady had several options. She would have instituted an action against her friend for breach of rights to consortium or even enticement, or she would have gone ahead to institute an action in court for dissolution of her marriage to her husband instead of beating up her friend and stripping her naked. Now that particular act which she had done to her friend can come up to institute an action against her for assault, battery and so on. And yes, she would go in for it. So even at that time when we are angry, at that time when we are frustrated, we should learn to curtail our feelings and go with the law, because the law will never allow a wrong to go through. Thank you for listening to yet another episode. Please do well to follow us on Facebook at Talk Law Naija. Do well to follow us on Instagram at Talk Law Naija. And please do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please subscribe, please share, please comment. Keep pushing the hashtag Talk Law Naija. Your silver Okudri. Please join us next time.